Hello, welcome to Studio Nicole. I am Nicole and I'm so glad that you're here. I am starting a new project, which is not surprising because I already have 72 projects in the works. So of course I need a new one. Um, Although I did record some time in the Cascade Journal. I'm going to get that edited and put up soon. So I am slowly working on the various projects that I have going on. But this one just captured my imagination, and now I am kind of obsessed. So, what I am doing is I'm creating an oracle deck, and I'm really excited about it. I went through Pinterest. I started out just picking a few images that kind of spoke to me sort of personally, some things that just resonated, and I ended up with a Pinterest board that has like 241 pins, somewhere around there at last count. I'm still adding. Um, I was going to print, just a handful of them, 10 or 20 maybe, and do a small deck, an oracle deck. And instead, I have probably 80 images here. And I'm having a hard time like narrowing it down. So I just put a whole bunch of them into Canva and printed them out. I used some semi-gloss photo paper, so they came out really, really nice. Um, and these are not like images for sale or anything. I got them off of Pinterest. I'm only using them like for my own personal project. I'm not like selling these or anything. So I didn't really pay attention to like copyright or anything since I don't plan on reselling any of this material. But if you were going to resell a deck like this or a project like this, you would want to make sure that you're choosing images that are free to use and legal for you to like reuse. So, what I'm going to do is I have this Death of Traction flashcards that I bought at a yard sale not long ago. I don't even know how many are in here, but if there aren't 80, then I will go find some more. But I think there probably are. Gosh, 80 sounds like such a big number. I didn't think it was that many, but it is 10 pages and I have 8 images on each page. I guess I didn't do the math before. It didn't seem like so many. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover these cards front and back with, I have, where we are. So I have all of this. It's like pretty thin light beige, like packing paper almost. I have a whole bunch of it, and they're big sheets. Each one is like pretty big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the paper with paint. I pulled a few smaller pages as inspiration. So these are the inspiration pages. These are just collage papers that I've done on book pages in the past. But I kind of like this the color palette of and the feel of these. So I pulled these out just to kind of help keep me on track with the colors that I want to pull to use for this project. So what I've started to do is I just have one sheet of paper. I have one big one, and I've just kind of slap some paint down. If you can kind of see, it's really pretty messy. And uh, I've not tried at all to keep it neat. I did a variety of different kinds of paints. I'm using some of these like cheap Apple Barrel craft paints from Walmart because I have a lot of them and I'm going to need a lot of paint to fill up all this paper that I have. But I also did pull some other ones. I have some Dina Wakley media and some Dylusions paints in pinks, blues. This one is glitter, which gives it kind of an interesting color. There's some other blues, some darker blues. Again, Dina Wakley and Dylusions. Some white paint. This is a golden fluorescent pink fluid acrylic. I love the fluorescent. Oh, here's the other one. This is also a fluorescent pink in Liquitex. So I just pulled, and I've got a couple purples too. There's this one, and this is Arteza Pearl. These are pearl paints. These are Arteza ones. So I just pulled like a whole pile of different colors. I've got all these papers. I'm just going to put them down. I'm going to do like a base layer of very mottled color. And then I'm going to come back over it and I'm going to do some patterns and maybe some stenciling to get some like big abstract shapes on here. I think I would like to finish with maybe some text, like some handwriting stamps and gold embossing, perhaps. That's where I'm thinking I want to go with it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this paper to cover. Sorry, this I'm going to just kind of cover both sides. I'm just going to fold it over and glue it and cover both sides and trim the edges. And then I'll use that as the base for each of these images. Because I sized them so that they would fit. Yeah, maybe I'll just cover the back and then I'll do something different on the front, perhaps, because most of it is going to be covered up with the image, so it won't really make sense. Maybe I'll just cover the backs and do something around the edges. Maybe I'll do that. Ooh, washi tape around the edge or something. That might work. Anyway, not sure yet, but I'll figure it out later. And the last thing that I want to do is, and I haven't quite worked this part out exactly yet, like logistically, but maybe along the bottom, if there's some room, I just want to write, yeah, there should be room. I just want to write like an affirmation or, um, yeah, like something about what inspires me about the image, like what it is that I want to kind of remind myself of when I pull these cards. So that's the plan for now. I'm gonna do some recording with my sound off, and then you'll just be able to sort of see the process. I might either voice over or add in some music later. But this will likely be a multi-part project because I do have a ton of cards and a ton of steps. So I'll probably break it down into smaller chunks to record and post it. So thanks for joining me. And I'm going to just get to work and I'll see you at the end of the video. Okay, I am back, and what I have done is created um, three large pieces of just painted paper. All right, this is pretty thin paper. I used some inks, some paints. I did some splatter. It's mostly pinks, purples, and like this turquoisey blue. Some variation in how deep the color is in different places. So I have three of those, and I started experimenting a little bit. I was off camera, but I wanted to just see, what I wanted to do, trying to streamline the video a little bit. And what I have done, let me bring this down, and I'll just move the paper around. What I've done is I've done some stamping. So you can see I just used black memento ink and a variety of stamps. Okay. I have some handwriting stamps. Um, this one's got like a little moth and stuff on it. I really like this one. I use this one a lot, the Flourish. So I used a variety of these stamps on the paper, and I need a clear place to put everything. My my whole desk is like an absolute wreck. There's stuff covering every part of it. So I've done some stamping. You can see there's like some of the writing stamps and some flourishes. Then I came in, I chose two stencils that I really liked. This one is kind of like a scale stencil, um, and this one is like a leaf or a flower pattern. And so this is how the leaf flower pattern stencil looks. And this is what well, it's upside down, but this is what this looks like. And I have to tell you that using paint with a stencil and like daubing up and down like this, it really hurts my hands. I can only do that for just a little while, and there's so much space here to cover that I was kind of dreading the stenciling phase because I didn't think that I could really manage that at such large scale. So what I did instead was I pulled out these distress oxides. So I have peacock feather, villainous potion, and picked raspberry. I've got a pink, a blue, and a purple. And I used these with one of these like makeup brushes. I just kind of cleaned it off on a paper towel in between colors. But this is beautiful. Like it works so easy. I'm gonna grab this is my wax paper that I was using around the edges so I didn't get paint all over my workspace. These papers are falling everywhere. It's pretty terrible. All right, so let's see. So what we want to do is we obviously want some contrast. So like this area is like a light pink. So I'm going to place my stencil down, and I'm going to go in with this purple because the purple will really show up against that pink background. So just get a little bit of it on your brush, hold your stencil in place, and you just go in and kind of rub. Um, I'm just using a circular motion. I'm sure there's other ways you could do it. I'm gonna I'm gonna drag it down here into this blue area a little bit. I'm not doing the entire like square stencil. Obviously, I'm just kind of doing like parts. Um, and then sometimes if it looks too much like just a single blob, sometimes I will just kind of, take the stenciling off in another little direction a little bit and then move it around. I'm going to do a little bit up here over this blue, this light area. It'll really show up nicely. I'm going to turn the stencil sideways and do a little bit over here. All right. And we'll, if I can manage to get everything to show up here on my desk. I'm just going to come in over here in this corner. Actually, I'm going to try and go all the way to the edge on this one because I moving my wax paper to the edge so I don't smear the distress oxide all over my desk. So just kind of moving this around a little bit. So there, yeah, right? How easy is that? It's so much easier than like tediously like dabbing your paints up and down. It stresses me out. Now, I wish I had a white distress oxide because I would like to do some stenciling in white on top of this. And really the only way I could do that is with white paint, I think, and like a makeup sponge. So, that's not ideal. I do have, I'll tell you, I tried this though. I do have these Dina Wakley gloss sprays. I have one in white, and this would actually work perfect, but it clogs every single one of these. And I probably have like 20 different colors of these. Every single one of them clogs. And I know that you're supposed to like clean the nozzle after every use. I'm not super great at following through with stuff like that. Um, but even when I do, even when I have cleaned the nozzle because I was trying to like save um the gloss spray, it just doesn't work. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. If anybody ever invents a spray that actually works and doesn't clog, I mean, shoo, you could make a fortune. That's a that's definitely a project. Now, I am noticing that the colors are kind of smearing, and I'm pretty sure it's because I have all kinds of color on the stencil itself. So as I'm going, it kind of just smears into this like bluey color. It's not, um, the purple is kind of coming off and it's not really vibrant. But honestly, I think it's okay. I'm not being too fussy right now. Just sideways and go off this edge here. Not being too fussy with it because I have been doing this for a long time. It's been hours and I really want to take a break and eat some dinner, but I kind of want to come to a stopping point. I don't want to like walk away like in the middle. So I'm just trying to sort of quickly add some variation. This is looking good. I'm gonna switch to the pink. Um, Maybe I will turn my stencil over. What do you think? Do you think that this color stuff on the back will come off? Actually, here it is. Oop, I've got a little spray bottle with some water. I'm going to spray the back of the stencil and lay it down and see if I can deliberately get some of this to come off. So let's just go down in this bottom corner because I don't have anything down here yet. I'm just using a paper towel here to like, and it might not work. I don't know. I'm really flying blind. We'll see. What do we think? Well, we got a little bit of something. It's not real easy to see, but it's kind of the obviously the reverse pattern, but it worked a little well. So let's do it over here. This area is really light. It's got some white paint in the background. So I'm just gonna go in over here. See if any of that comes off. It did. It's hard to see and it's kind of mottly, and probably when it dries, you're not going to really notice it so well. But I tried. All right, so I'm going to just turn this over and I'm going to do a little bit of this pink. Let me. This is my version of cleaning the brush. I'm just smearing it off on a paper towel. It works. It does the job. I feel like I've almost got this one pretty much covered and I don't need a whole lot. But since each one of these cards is kind of small. That pink is really shows up on there. Let's see. Well, it would have if I didn't pick a background that was already that color. Let's see over here on this blue how it looks. Um, each one of these cards is pretty small. And there, that's a little more. It's not really super visible on camera, but it's easier to see in real life. Oh, and I have been just going to town with this one stencil instead of alternating with the other one that was underneath here. So I'll just grab a couple of spots. And I'll just keep with this pink since I didn't use a whole lot of it. And I'll just add some of this pattern in pink. Not super visible right there. Let's try down here. It is hard to work on such a big piece of paper when my desk is really not that big. Everything is kind of crumpling up. Now, the last one I did the stamping first and then I did the stenciling because I was really dreading the stenciling process. Um, so, you know, we'll see how it works the other way around. I'm going to go back to the purple because I want a little bit of this pattern on here and it's going to need to be in kind of the darker color, I think, to show up. So I'm just putting a little bit on here. It really does end up making the whole thing a little more purple than I had initially planned, but oh well, it's fine. I didn't, really have any particular. I just had like an inspiration, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job of meeting that. There's the inspiration pages. Okay. Off to the very last one. Actually, no. I'm going to come back to the stencil on the last one. And while I have this one in front of me and while my camera is on, I'm just going to do a little bit of stamping. And then I will just skip to the end and show you what all three of them look like. How's that? So here's what I did. I really just grabbed my ink pad, grabbed my stamps, and kind of stuck them here and there. I didn't think too much about it. I kind of alternated them. So some of them are going up and around, some of them are going sideways. I really liked this flourish. I used it a lot in the other one. I think what I was trying to say earlier, and then I got sidetracked, is that because each of the cards is only about this big, so it's really only going to capture a little bit of the pattern. So I don't think it's going to be too repetitive, but I do want all of the cards to look like they belong together and as, the same part of the same deck. So I think it's good to repeat elements so that all of the cards will have a similar look and feel to them. So I think that's going to work well. All right, enough of that one. What else do I have? Oh, I like this one. So this is the one that's got like I really just use the top of it because the bottom elements are really big and chunky, and I kind of want smaller elements on this page, things that aren't going to take up, too much like focal attention. So I'm just using the top of the stamp. Again, it's kind of hard to see how it turns out, but we'll, yeah, I think it's good. Looks good. And we'll do this one, which is it's like some fancy writing and some like bill of sale kind of stuff. Oh, Again, I'm mostly just using the top of the stamp because I don't really want these lines on here. I want it to be a little more organic than that. This one doesn't show up as much because it's like a more subtle stamp. The lines aren't very long, but it's perfect for what I want. On the small cards, just this little bit of background text is really gonna give it some depth and dimension. And I love some depth and dimension. All right. So do that. Maybe in this corner. Trying to look for places on the paper where I don't have a lot of design yet. This stamp is a little different. It's like a really messy handwriting stamp, but it's really, really small. Like the writing is just very tiny and doesn't show up very easily. So I'm just going to do a little bit of that. Won't do a whole lot. Maybe let's start down here. All right. Last one. I have this one. It's like a oh, probably makes more sense to look at it like this. And it's upside down. Ha! Here we go. Oh, where did my ink go? There it is. Under one of the other stamps that I just set down. Brilliant, Nicole. Brilliant. Um, all right. I think that this is going to look great once it's all cut and on the back of the cards. I'm excited to see how it turns out. Now, typically with a deck of cards, you want the backs to be identical so that you don't know what the card is, when you pull it. This set is not going to be like that, obviously, because each one is going to be a little bit different. Um, but I think it'll work. I'm not going to be shuffling through the deck looking for specific cards from the back. So I don't think that I'll need to worry about that. All right, let me bring the camera down a little bit so you can see the Flourish stamp here. This is the one with the handwriting and the little moth. This is the other handwriting stamps. Didn't really. Oops. Right, so that just some different stamping and some different stenciling, and it just gives it. It's so funny how the color changes depending on like whether my hands are in the shot or not and how close you are. Because this is really more realistic. It's definitely more pink. This is but then when my it's so weird. I'm so sorry, guys. I gotta figure out the color balance or something. I don't know what's happening. I'm not that great a videographer apparently, but it's funny because it looks very, very blue now and it's really much more pink. Um, all right. So I'm going to do all of this stenciling and stamping on the third piece of paper, and then I will have 3 of these. And that's where I'm going to end this video. I will come back in another video where I start putting it on the cards. I'm also going to figure out what to do on the front of the card, and I'll start putting my images on the front. So I'm calling these Everyday Magic. That's the theme of my Oracle deck. And once I have the whole deck, I'll put together a video and I'll show them all to you. And we'll kind of talk a little bit more about what an Oracle deck is. Because I'm still kind of I'm still thinking exactly how I want it to be. So at this stage, I don't want to say too much about how it's goodness. Look at my hands. Oof. I don't want to say too much about how I expect it to turn out because, plans change and I tend to pivot and who knows where I'll end up with some of these things. But the general idea is that each of these cards represents like a different characteristic. And like this one is like abundance. And this one, these are like thimbles, like a bunch of antique thimbles. So to me, this one speaks of like self-protection. Um, the coffee or the tea in the cup is sort of a message to slow down and take things a little slower. And I like this to focus on like the strength beneath the surface. So each one of these images that I've chosen has sort of an underlying meaning. It represents something personal to me. And what I'd like to do is put one of these images on each card and write just a little bit about what that means. And then with an oracle deck, you draw cards. Maybe when you need a little bit of guidance or you need something to focus on. Some people do it like every day, and other people only do it when they feel, the need to get a little guidance. So I'm not like I don't take it really seriously. But I do think that sometimes it's good to have a reminder of our strengths and the everyday magic that we can keep an eye out for in our everyday life. So that's my plan. I will be back in the next video where I start assembling the cards, and we'll talk more at that point. Let me know in the comments what questions you have, and I'll try to address them in the next video. Like, subscribe, and come on back for the next video. I'll see you soon, folks. Thanks so much.